Good afternoon, and my name is Michael Randolph, and the title of this video is When God Calls. When I was I guess, a young person between the age of 9 to 12, I was told by my mother not to go downstairs and drink water because it would make me pee in bed. And one night I decided, like many other nights, to go downstairs and drink some water. And as I was going downstairs, I had to walk through a small hallway to get to the kitchen. And in that hallway was a wall picture of Jesus. And as I was walking past that particular picture, that particular night, I looked at Jesus, the wall picture of Jesus, and then when I turned and was face to face looking at the picture as I was going into the kitchen, I can bet you I was saying to Jesus, please forgive me, but I need to drink this water. Again, I was between 9 and 11. And as I was staring at the picture of Jesus, I noticed that the wall pictures of Jesus, I noticed that Jesus' mouth, on the wall picture of Jesus' mouth, began to move. But I couldn't hear what Jesus was saying. I saw his mouth move, the picture move, the mouth move on the picture, but I couldn't hear what was being communicated. So naturally, I'm a young little 9 to 11, seeing the picture, or seeing Jesus' picture move. I'm thinking, I'm out of here, I'm running. But I couldn't move. And what was strange, I don't know how long the period of time I was stuck there, but for that period of time, I could do nothing but look at Jesus and see Jesus' mouth move. And of course, whenever that period that I was released, I didn't go to drink the water, I went straight up to bed. And that was my first experience. My second experience is when I was dreaming and had in that dream I saw Jesus walking, and I was walking behind Jesus, and I saw Jesus turn around and raise one of his hands, his arms, as if to say stop or go back. I saw Jesus' mouth move again, and I couldn't hear what Jesus was saying, but I felt that it was good. The second dream, second time was another dream in which I seen Jesus, and this time in that dream, Jesus and I were face to face, and Jesus again, the mouth was moving. Again, I couldn't understand what was being said at that particular period of time. I do know since then I've gone through so many experiences where I could have died, but God has intervened and I didn't die. Like walking in the street and not paying attention to traffic. I grew up in probably one of the poorest communities in the nation. And we're going to get back to that little child that laid in that particular bed and how it relates to growing up in one of the poorest nations in the world. When I became an adult, I had made a decision that I was going to go into corporate law. I was going to go and make a lot of money. And I decided that before I actually go to law school, because I had lawyers and I had judges, because as a paralegal, that was the type of profession I was in at one point. I had an opportunity to meet judges and lawyers and let them know that I was going to, in fact, apply for law school. I had at that particular point did internship with the state's attorney's office and had worked as a paralegal for the public defender's office. So decided, and based on that, I decided I could go ahead and move forward and be a lawyer. In that time period, I decided that if I did go into law, I wanted to go into corporate law in order to get as much money as I could. So I decided to go into doing volunteer work, community work for a year, so I wouldn't feel guilty. Little did I know God's plan. My first year in working for that nonprofit, I had an opportunity to really make a change. And one of the changes I made was that while with that nonprofit, I was asked to represent a tenant that was being caused by the tenants is a male and female. In fact, it was it was a Muslim family that was facing the possibility of being evicted from their house because they refused to pay rent. And I was asked to represent them in that case. And I tell you, God gave me the skills necessary to win that case. Even though the other opponent, landlord, had a lawyer, I was just a paralegal. And I went against this lawyer again because God gave me the skills necessary to win. And at that particular point, I told myself in that first year, another thing happened. So young people came to me and they told me how they were happy that I was really helping them and making a difference, and that now they had youth programs that they could go to. So that first year, those two things happened that highlighted that year, and along with a lot of other things that happened, but those two things highlighted that year, and I decided to do it for a second year to work in the nonprofit world. And that's when I was honored to have worked with a family in terms of getting the husband a job. And later, the family decided to buy a house. They came back to me and told me how important it was for them, because getting that job really brought the family back. The family was going through a lot of trauma, a lot of arguments because of financial situation. And now the husband was working, was bringing in income. As a matter of fact, we also helped the wife to get a job as well, part-time. And now they was able to buy a house. So they thanked me for that. So that was one of the things I highlighted the second year. And I looked at this year and I said, God, I'm only going to do this one more year. This is going to be my last year after this. And what happened in that third year was that family that had that house now was really, in that third year, came back and said, Mr. Randolph, please don't leave the community. And the youth, they came back, and all those people that I did anything for came back that third year and asked me not to go. They told me how much of an important part I played in their life. And if you know anything about the nonprofit, you don't get money, you don't get paid. But that touched me so much that I looked up at the sky and I said, God, I understand now. I understand where you want me to be. And I understand that you want me to use any skills and experience that I gather to work with and work in poor communities. I understood at that point that God gave me that as my purpose in life. Since that time, I have provided technical assistance to over 1,400 nonprofits in the area of technical assistance, being over and grant writing, to putting together strategic plans, to working with them to empower those neighborhoods to really be better neighborhoods. God has given me that skill, and I'm happy that I was able to check so many nonprofits. It goes to show one individual can do so much. Added to that, I've worked with in preparing the paperwork for 140 new nonprofits to get started. For me, I want to touch 1,000,000 people before I close my eyes. And I understand the best way to touch 1,000,000 people is to touch nonprofits that do the work of really actually on the groundwork of helping people, changing lives. That's my commitment. You know, I realize now, as that child that was lying in that bed so many years, that saw the move, that saw Jesus' lip move, and words coming out that I couldn't hear. That little child that lived in one of the worst neighborhoods in the country, that was so poor, rats and roaches was just normal in the house, and who had to go to the bathroom, or anyone that had to go to the bathroom, had to walk across a dirt floor to get to a bathroom that was so cold you had to wear your coat to go to the bathroom. And where heat is supposed to be in your house, but in actuality you could barely feel it, so you had to, the little kids, bundle together in order to get the heat. I'm talking about, I lived in one of the worst neighborhoods in the country, and was part of that group of people that live in the worst situation in terms of poverty. And through all that, our family had so much love, it didn't mean anything that we was poor until as we were began to grow up. My whole life is committed to doing and changing the community and transforming neighborhoods. And the way I do that is any project that I work on, that God definitely has given me to work on and given me as a project, is I try to transform those communities by making sure the residents that live in those neighborhoods are in fact uplifted by giving them the skills necessary to increase their ability to get a good job, a job that's paying a living wage and not a minimum wage, but a living wage, a wage in which will allow that person to live off of, and not a minimum wage. And in transforming that particular neighborhood, allowing those residents to be able to get jobs, those residents that have all kind of obstacles that are stopping them from work, criminal records, substance abuse issues, disability, transportation, all of those issues that might stop that person from getting a job, to transform that person so that person has an opportunity to be part of the redevelopment of the neighborhood and not transform or evicted or genocide out that neighborhood. That's my gift from God, to transform lives. From that day that I saw Jesus' mouth move in that hallway, and that picture that was on the wall of Jesus, to the dreams, I understand my purpose. And I know at some point in life that those silent words that I was listening to when I was a little child and when I grew up as a young adult, those dreams, all of a sudden, when I get to death or near death, I will be able to hear what Jesus was saying. And I hope that people say, Mike, you've been tasked with making a change in life. And it doesn't mean you're going to be rich. And I know that because even now, 30 years later, 20, 30 years later, when people see the house that I live in, I'm not rich at all. But I'm blessed. And I'm changing lives. And you don't have to have a lot of money to change life. You just have to use your ability to make changes. Doesn't mean all the time you're going to make money. But all of us have a purpose in life. And as I was saying earlier, when God calls, you do what you do. And that little child that was in that bed that experienced all those rats and roaches, and seeing his mother wonder sometime how she's going to feed the family the next day, even along the next month, and hear his mother cry, wondering how she's going to pay the rent, trying to figure out how to juggle money when there's no money. I never want to see another person, another family that has to experience that. That's why I do what I do. And I understand my purpose. And why I don't understand why I made this video, clearly, it's a Sunday, August the 6th, 2015. I had plans to do other things, but you know how things, God sometimes compel you to do something? And that's what he's done this Sunday, is he's compelled me to make this video. And I've done it. And I hope the reason for doing it will come to pass. But I've done it because I'm compelled to do it.